So, you know how everyone's been saying that artificial general intelligence is right around the corner? Well, hold on a second. A brand new report just dropped that's serving as a major reality check. It's fundamentally resetting how we even measure machine intelligence, and we're going to break down exactly why.
I mean, for the past few years, the story's been the same, right? Just this unstoppable, exponential progress. Frontier AI models were just crushing it. They were acing one benchmark after another, almost every traditional test we threw at them. It really truly felt like we were on this rocket ship straight to human-level intelligence.
Yeah, but that whole narrative, it just slammed into a brick wall. A very big, very real wall, and it was all revealed by a completely new kind of test.
Okay, look at this. This is the result from that new benchmark. It's called ARC AGI 3. And wow, it shows a massive problem. The human baseline is 100%. The world's most advanced AI models are scoring less than 0.5%. That's not just a gap, that's a chasm. So what on earth is going on here? To get our heads around this shocking new results, we've actually got to go back. We need to look at the old tests and figure out why they were giving us this, totally false sense of progress. The thing is, the most powerful models out there, your Geminis, your Groks, they'd basically solved the previous versions of these tests. They'd saturated them. And this created the impression that we were incredibly close to human-level reasoning. But it turns out, the tests themselves were flawed. The diagnosis reveals this fundamental flaw. See, the problems in the public and private test sets were just way too similar. This meant AI labs could essentially game the system. Their models weren't truly learning to reason. They were just getting ridiculously good at a very fancy form of high-level memorization to find shortcuts. The specific technique is called dense sampling. And this is where it gets really interesting. Imagine, instead of actually solving a puzzle, you just try every possible move, thousands and thousands of times, until you stumble upon the right answer. It looks like intelligence, but it's not the real thing. It's just brute force pattern matching, not genuine problem solving. And that is exactly what ARC AGI 3 was designed to prevent. It's a new kind of test, built from the ground up to measure real, fluid intelligence, the kind you just can't fake. It does this with 3 crucial new rules that change everything. First, it tests for abstraction. Second, it requires interactive planning. And third, and maybe most importantly, it brutally penalizes inefficiency. Okay, let's break those down. First up, abstraction. The test uses abstract visual grids instead of language. This is so important because it forces the AI way out of its comfort zone. It can't just be a librarian and go look up an answer it's seen before in its vast memory. No, it has to reason from scratch and show true fluid intelligence by finding brand new patterns. This leads right into the second rule, interactive planning. This isn't some multiple choice quiz, it's a game. The AI has to explore, remember what it already tried, and set its own sub-goals. For instance, the test never says, this symbol rotates that shape. The AI has to discover that rule on its own. This means it has to work backward from a goal it created itself, a skill that current models really struggle with. But honestly, the most punishing part of this new test is its scoring system. It's designed specifically to penalize those brute force methods we talked about earlier. And in doing so, it reveals what's called the efficiency gap. ARC AGI 3 is intentionally tough. It doesn't just ask if you can solve the puzzle. It asks if you can solve it elegantly and efficiently. The way a human would. It enforces this with something called a quadratic inefficiency penalty. So if an AI takes twice as many actions as a human, its score gets a 4 times penalty. 3 times the actions, wham, a 9 times penalty. And get this, if it takes 5 times as long, the attempt is just scrapped, thrown out. You get no credit for brute forcing your way to a solution. So given these absolutely brutal results, what does this test actually tell us about the state of AI today? What's the underlying diagnosis for this massive intelligence gap? Well, it all comes down to this central paradox. How can an AI model be smart enough to solve problems from the International Math Olympiad, but then completely fail a seemingly simple, abstract grid puzzle? The answer is that these models seem to toggle between 2 different modes. Sometimes they operate with a real, principled understanding of the rules, but more often they rely on brittle memorization, just finding shortcuts based on patterns. The source uses a great analogy. They're like a lazy, bright kid who sometimes does the work to truly learn, but other times just crams to pass the test. And ARC AGI 3 is the test you just can't cram for. And this quote from the analyst just captures that feeling perfectly. This is why current AI can feel so inconsistent, like it has a 200 IQ one second and a 50 IQ the next. Its intelligence is brittle.
So, if current AI intelligence is this brittle, what does that mean for the future? I mean, where does the road ahead lead after a major reality check like this?
Well, the headline from the ARC Foundation, the creators of the test, is unambiguous. As long as this massive intelligence gap exists, we do not have AGI. Period. End of story. This suggests we are now deep in what's being called a messy middle phase of AI development. It's a phase where our old strategy, just making models bigger and feeding them more data, might be hitting a wall of diminishing returns when it comes to true generalizable intelligence. Which suggests that to truly close this gap, more of the same just isn't going to cut it. It points toward the need for a completely new way of building these systems, a fundamental architectural breakthrough, not just piling on more and more data.
And this leaves us with a fundamental question. For years, the path forward for AI has been about getting bigger. But this humbling new benchmark suggests the real challenge, the next great leap, isn't about getting bigger at all, but about getting smarter.